Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. We have the 2022 Kramer Pacer Classic 80s Reborn. Okay, so this is my third Kramer in the batch. Now, this is basically a $500 guitar in Canada, $499. Woo! And of course I'm in Canada, and therefore I had to pay $500. Anyways, so I want to talk to you guys about the specs on this thing, give you a good rundown. So this has what's called the Kramer K-Speed Slim Taper C-Profile neck. We have 22 medium jumbo frets, so you've got lots of fret meat there, so be gentle when pressing on the strings or you'll be playing out of tune. Yes, I love jumbo frets. It makes you become a light, fast player instead of death gripping the neck and playing out of tune all the time. Anyways, we do have, of course, an alder body maple neck with a maple fretboard. Yes, it is a finished neck, believe it or not. It looks naked. I mean, seriously, if you go up there with a magnifying glass and you're trying to find the finish, you're like, where? Where is it? It all looks like wood to me. I can't see anything. Well, it's satin, okay? And it's a very extremely light coating. I think what they did was just enough to soak it in, and that was it. But nonetheless, it is a protected neck. Okay, so we're good to go there. Do not ever stick any kind of oil on a maple fretboard. You will regret it, trust me. Okay, these things are not made to be done that way. Like a damp rag, and you know, you kind of go in here and you clean all your junk out and you dry it really quick. Like really quick, that's what you do. So what else have we got here for you? 25.5-inch scale. We've gone over the 22 fret deal. We have a licensed Floyd Rose with an R2 lock nut top mount. We also have chrome knurled knobs, okay, and they are metal, by the way. Take them off and bite them yourself. I did. Yes, they're definitely metal. Because if they would have tasted like plastic, I would have ripped them right off, thrown them in the garbage can, and went out and bought metal ones. I hate plastic. Drives me mental. Anyways, we have die-cast tuners, of course, so they're sealed, permanently lube style tuners with little adjuster screws, because sometimes these things can be a little loose, and you just snug up the screw and away you go. You can also snug them a little bit more to a certain point if you want them a little bit stiffer. It's kind of your thing. Just don't go overboard with it, because if you snap that nylon bushing in there, you're yanked. So we've got a pair of Alnico 5 classic humbuckers with double white exposed coils. What does that mean for the layman people out there? Okay, so if you turn on your guitar and you turn on some distortion and you might be a little bit, not too loud, but you're getting lots of feedback and you haven't hit the strings yet, that means that your pickups are not wax coated on the coils. Okay, so basically, hello, 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 you will hear yourself through your amplifier, okay? That means your pickups are not wax potted, which is a more common thing to happen nowadays. Over the years, people have been more and more annoyed by open coil pickups because they feedback too easily. So even in larger areas, you have to be way further away from your gear in order to avoid that feedback. Now, heavy metal is heavy metal, guys. Shredding is shredding, but you know, feedback is something that a lot of us really don't like unless we want feedback for a certain purpose. But back in the 80s, things were a little different too, and artists got their tones by using unpotted pickups. But potted pickups weren't exactly a huge thing anyways, you know, but they were there, right? Just that some people preferred the unpotted for their tone. And so these are recreation guitars of the 80s, and I guess artists who used this particular style of guitar didn't want potted pickups, so that's how they've made these, unpotted. Same as the V211S, it's not potted pickups in that one either. Now, the tonal characteristics will change if you were to pot these pickups. Now, what is potting? It's dipping them in paraffin wax. So you melt down a block of wax on the stove very carefully because it does have a flash point. And then you take it off the stove and you dip your pickup into it, let it soak for a minute, and then you take it out and you let it dry. And then you rinse and repeat, basically. There is a process for it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube teach you how to do that correctly. But it will alter the tone. But then it's also a difference of going, hello, 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 turn it up louder, hello, hello, and nothing comes out of your amp. That's good. You did your job right. They're properly wax potted and sealed. But now you go and play that guitar, your sound of your guitar is going to be altered. Because now you're going from potted to unpotted, right? Or unpotted to potted in this case. So it's kind of your choice if you want the pickups. Now on clean tones, these do really well at, you know, even some decent volume, and they don't feedback. It's when you add in that gritty distortion that all of a sudden everything's squealing all over the place, and you're still like 4 feet from your amp, and your amp's not up that high, and it's squealing on you. It's like, ah, it can be annoying. These ones are not as bad though for doing that as the V211 is. For some reason, these are not, they're not as sensitive for unpotted pickups as the V211. Or VT211, sorry, 211S. But nonetheless, they are unpotted pickups, so you have to realize that right away, okay? I have nothing against them. I think the sound of them is fantastic. It's just I can't get away with really cranking the snot out of stuff in this room like I could with any of my Gibson, Les Paul, or my SG, or whatever, right? Because they all have potted pickups. But either way, I like them. I like the floating Floyd Rose on this too, and being that it's a licensed Floyd, it's also a very good quality one, especially with the turning screws. They're very smooth. You know, unlike other guitars I've had with Floyds, they're like really rough, and it's kind of like, ugh. Kind of reminds me of that Ibanez on the wall, you know, $700 guitar with an Ibanez in-house Floyd, and the screws are like long, which is fine, great, but they're very coarse threaded and very, bleh, you know, they could have done a better job on their Floyd on that one. But anyways, I can always rip it off and put a licensed Floyd on, I guess. But either way, this guitar is fantastico. No blems on the finish anywhere. You know, even for a $500 guitar in Canada, this thing would be like, I don't know, $350 in the States, maybe $3.25 in the States, or $4.25. $4.25 probably. I don't know. What's the difference here? Let's go 500 CND to USD. So this guitar would probably sell for about $396 in the States. Our dollar really is taking a bite. Holy jumping. Anyways, whatever. So it's about 400 bucks, we'll say, in the States for this, 500 in Canada. I think it's still worth the 500 bucks, to be honest. It's a great guitar for the money, you know. So I have no problems with it. I love the matching headstock to the body. That's primo. That's really cool. You do get the tools that actually mount onto the headstock at the back, so you always have your tools to be able to adjust stuff, so that's fantastic. You know, the 2 volume and 1 tone, what more do you need? 3-way switch works fantastic, no issues at all. That's about all I can tell you about this thing. Now, as far as the detuna that I have on here, we're going to talk about that in the next video, because that's going to take a few minutes to explain this detuna thing, because there's some stuff you really need to know before you attempt to install it, even on this particular Floyd system. But we will get to that in the next one. In the meantime, if you have any other questions about this guitar, feel free to ask, and I will definitely do the best I can to answer them. Oh yes, you want to know string gauge. 942s is what this thing came with, and that's what went back on it. Okay, so we do have brand new strings on this. We had to do our setup at the store. The strings that were on there were very, very bad. Change the strings right away. Oh, and with a Floyd, 1 string at a time, unless you can figure out how to block off the Floyd carefully without scratching your paint job up, because this has to stay dead even on a horizontal plane to be perfectly balanced, to stay in tune properly once you do tune it up. But 942s is what's actually on it, and they are fantastic. So if you want to go to 10s, you may have to add an extra spring into the tremolo and then readjust the claw back outward in order to rebalance stuff properly again. Otherwise, you just yank that bridge up and you're wondering why it's sitting up so high. It's because you went to a stronger gauge string and you didn't make the necessary accommodations for that. So, but yes, they come with 942s. That's what went back on. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Feel free to ask questions, comments below. You know where they are. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.